I call to order the September 2015 legislative meeting of Media Borough Council. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you everyone who is present here as well as at home for joining us. You are in your important way making sure that our local government works and works well. So we are now into September, and September is the time of year when the golden light starts to slant in and kids are back, we hope, safely and smoothly to school. Also, this weekend we have the Great Media Garage Sale Day, and Councilman Davidson, I think, will have a few words about that, but just keep that in mind. As we all know, it tends to be a day where quite a few people are out in the streets, so let's all be careful out there. First thing is a matter of housekeeping. We have a couple sets of meeting minutes. One is for our August workshop meeting minutes, and the other is for our August council meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the workshop meeting minutes for August 2015 as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the meeting minutes? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving the August 6, 2015 meeting minutes, workshop meeting minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. All right, similar question as to the August 20, 2015 council meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the council meeting minutes from August 20, 2015 as submitted, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. Okay, we now enter into public comment and privilege of the floor. If there's anyone who is here present who wishes to address council, please come to the microphone, state your name and where you live, and then fire away.
Letitia Jevons, 216 North Monroe Street. My question is, I know with the Village Art Shop closing, there has been another closure on State Street, and I know that certain businesses previously at one location on State Street have moved either to other places on State Street or to off of State Street, such as Bryn Mawr Running Company and 320 have both moved. With the various holes on State Street, is there any confirmed information, not just rumors, about what is or is not coming in? And if so, any plans to get things in if there is not something coming in presently?
I believe that there have been some applications made on a couple of those spots in the old 320 market. That it is proposed to be another restaurant. I believe it's a Mexican restaurant nearly across the street from that location at the former hoagie shop. There also is a restaurant that is proposed to go into that location. When it is that those restaurants will move in and start business, I can't tell you. I don't know the answer to that. The old Bryn Mawr Running Club, I understand that a lease has been entered into with, I'm going to forget the name of the store. It's the store, there is a... No, the Front Street Farm, that's where Bryn Mawr Running Club is moving to. But the store that they're moving from, I understand that there's a lease that's been entered into by the secondhand furniture store that is out of Jasper Street. I'm not forgetting the name of it.
Reconsider home.
Reconsider home.
It is.
Village Art?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So, oh, that's right. There's another application for the former or the current place for Bryn Mawr Running Club. So there appears to be some new businesses that are slotting in to those stores that are currently vacant or will soon be vacant. So that's good news for the borough. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else have any questions? Please come forward.
Hi, Michael York, 303 South Avenue. I see on the agenda that parking and some parking ordinance will be voted on. I'm happy to see that. I haven't seen the finished product, but I just wanted to make sure that it's known that no matter how well-intentioned the ordinance is, it comes down to enforcement. And when this was kind of a larger issue a couple months ago, you know, everybody was calling regularly, the police came regularly, tickets were written, and parking, you know, fell into a nice level. There was parking available. But now, with less phone calls being made, I suppose, that gets a little tedious. But even more recently, we've made some calls, and the police, I guess, were busy elsewhere with, you know, higher, you know, jobs. But either way, the parking is now, again, very congested. So it seems to be a direct result of enforcement of whatever the parking ordinance is. And I just wanted to reiterate, I appreciate all your efforts having to do with parking, but it really comes down to enforcement. I don't want to be a pain in the butt to people, but, you know, I park in the church lot a lot more than I feel I should need to. And at one point, when the enforcement was, you know, every day, somehow those cars went somewhere else, and hopefully to a metered spot or something that benefited the borough. At least they went somewhere else. I don't know where they went to, but they didn't get carried up into somebody's apartment. So it is possible to have parking available, at least for the immediate residents, but it comes down to enforcement, at least in my eyes.
All right, thank you, Ms. Ewert. Councilman Rouse, I don't know if you have
Yeah, I mean, number one,
yes.
yes, the ordinance tonight will be changing parking times on South Avenue as discussed. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that, you know, you can put signs up till the cows come home. If you don't have enforcement, it doesn't work. Public safety has been and will be working closely with the mayor and the police department to adjust the hours and the staffing and the requirements of our parking enforcement department. Yes, we will make sure we need to have them out on the street doing parking enforcement. Right now, the chief has opted to continue to use some of our parking enforcement officers as crossing guards as well, taking them off the street. So my philosophy is to, you know, get the maximum amount of hours out of our parking enforcement officers, issuing tickets, and doing it at various times at various locations so that individuals that do use metered parking do not get to know the route of our parking enforcement people, and so that they don't pop out 5 minutes before they come down the street and throw in their quarter. This is something that's been irritating me, and we will work on it, and I feel comfortable that we will have resolution to it in the foreseeable future. I do apologize for you having parked in the church lot.
And I expect that Councilman Robinson's irritation will translate into action.
It's a polite way of putting it. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, does anyone else wish to address council at this time? Please come forward to the microphone. Seeing no further takers, we'll move on to the engineer's report.
Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Excuse me. This is a short report for the work for August 2015. The 2015 road resurfacing project is complete, including all the paperwork now. To my knowledge, and with the help of the borough staff, everything's been submitted to PennDOT. We did look at a few traffic issues on Baltimore Avenue, which will be brought up at the public safety, I believe, later on in this month.
Correct.
So at this time, there'll be no discussion about that until public safety reviews it. Attendance of various meetings. Aqua has plans into the borough that we've reviewed for main replacement in two areas, one on Orange, one on Olive, and the one that we've mostly concentrated on was Olive, since it's in the residential area. We've provided comments to Aqua and back to the borough, and when everything gets addressed, I believe there will be a notice issued to Aqua to have them start. And I think today or yesterday there was a letter that was sent to the borough indicating start time towards the end of this month and completion of the project in on or about January of 2016. A few communications about the Wawa traffic, and we worked along with the borough for the Jefferson Street sidewalks, which I believe everything is complete except a crossing pattern for the driveway. It's at the one end of the new sidewalk. Any questions?
You mentioned the Wawa, and I was just curious, have we worked on a true estimate on what the cost will be with regards to the traffic lane and the additional traffic lane going out, or excuse me, the additional left-hand turn lane? And have we spoken to PennDOT to date?
Let me take that.
I have Mr. Sullivan, the attorney for a while, I asked to meet with me tomorrow regarding just that. So I will be reporting to council next week on the status of that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Johnson. We'll move on to the solicitor's report, Mr. Scott.
Thank you. The only thing I'll bring to your attention is that I did record the Borough's mortgage against the library property. Just want you to know that didn't fall through the cracks. I'll give it to Jeff for the Borough's records. And that transactional side is wrapped up and completed.
Thank you. Is there any questions for Mr. Scott? Hearing no call for questions, we'll move on to the mayor's report, which I understand is tonight will be referred to as the potpourri.
Yeah, I'm going to pretty much skip everything else. This will take a few minutes, if that's okay. First, I'm going to read the special note. I think most of the council has a printout of what I'm going to be saying. So I'll read the special note first, just to put it in context. Pope Francis' visit has been declared a national special security event, and as such, certain planning measures being put in place are restricted information for law enforcement only. And I think we're now on 6 weeks worth of meetings, police chief, myself, not me as much as him, with local, county, state officials on what we're able to report on the plans for the visit, which is not this coming weekend, but next Saturday and Sunday. And most of the people that will be parking immediate to take the what is the R3, they're telling me to change that name, but the R3 will be parking somewhere between 4 a.m. and 11 a.m. to catch the train. People with tickets from 5:30 to 8:30, and then people from 8:30 to 11:30. And I think at first we thought there were going to be maybe 9 trains and 10,500 people would be taking the train. We are well under those numbers still, even up to today. So I'm going to read this, which has been approved by Upper Province, our police chief, and I guess everyone else involved. So, working in cooperation with Upper Province Township and the police department, which has primary jurisdiction of the immediate train station, here's the following. Prepaid tickets sold Saturday approximately, it's in the mid-3,000s, I would say now, probably around 3,500 for Saturday. And Sunday approximately, at this point, probably 4,500. SEPTA is designating that transit for the weekend is a drop-off, pickup event, similar to what people do at the airport. The train station parking lot will not be used for parking, but to stage emergency services and a check-in point for passengers. Upper Province Police will be bringing in additional officers and will be supplemented by SEPTA Police and National Guard specifically for traffic and crowd control. Drop-off and pickup of train riders will occur as follows. Those dropping off will do such by entering Ridley Creek Road at Baltimore Pike and go to Media Station Road directly to the staging area at the entrance of the train station. And I will say, a conversation with the Upper Province Chief today about the lighting and the direction signs, and that's going to be an easy-to-follow situation for people that want to be dropped off. So, after dropping off passengers, the cars will be directed south on Orange Street at South Avenue toward Milton Road, in other words, toward 352. Ridley Creek and Media Station roads will become one-way only. The same routing will be used for picking up when they return at night. The Elwyn train station parking lot has been designated as a cell phone staging area for vehicles to await a call from returning passengers. Additionally, electronic signboards will be in place along Baltimore Pike directing east and westbound traffic vehicles toward the designated entrance into Ridley Creek Road. Traffic posts will also be manned by police officers for traffic control. A centralized command post will be manned with unified command structure for our immediate area emergency services personnel. Immediate police department will be bringing in additional officers to supplement the normal patrol numbers. The schedule for the additional officers will coincide with the anticipated peak times in conjunction. peak times being the time I told you in the morning, but also coming back at night. It's not as predictable when people will be coming back, but you'd expect late afternoon. Some people will be tired returning to the borough, and it'll go on fairly late, probably even later on Sunday. So, Officer, it is anticipated that a great number of people will be parking in the borough during the weekend, and residents and businesses should plan accordingly. All should realize that a great deal of traffic will be impacting not just media, but the entire 5-county region. The borough is coordinating additional parking areas with the borough boundaries with privately owned parking lots. The planning for this event is fluid and changes day to day, and I'll second that. The Delaware County Police Association continues to meet and adjust law enforcement issues daily. So, a couple of notes on this. As far as vehicles that are parked in media, any vehicle that jeopardizes public safety is to be ticketed and towed. And examples of jeopardizing public safety are the following: parking in front of a fire hydrant, obstructing roadways, blocking driveways, and blocking crosswalks. I plan on doing a robocall tomorrow. Had to wait, couldn't do it before then until a lot of this was kind of updated. So a robocall tomorrow, and then there's bound to be updates. I'm driving to the train station this morning, and Seth is on the radio advertising for more people to take the train in town. So far, I was in Warminster train station today. I was there for a half hour waiting for someone. 10 people came up and bought tickets. So they're not getting the crowds that they thought they were going to get taking the train. Helps alleviate some of our situation here. Media Real Estate has 4 lots that they're opening with valet parking. They are charging, but the money goes to Rotary that they take in, but they're bringing in valet parking for 4 different lots to supplement. So, not sure if I left anything out, but I know the church lot that you referred to, they have a bus coming in, so they'll be parking in that church lot to take the bus. I got that information Saturday night. So, I'm not going to get into anything else on my report. Dining on the stars or anything. I think you heard that before. Summarize that next month.
Do you know which lots Media Real Estate is going to make available for valet parking?
Yes, and they're going to go from lot to lot.
Are they going to be signage?
Yes, they are putting up signage. They're going to start with the lot across from Hill Seafood. They have Baltimore and Lemon. That's one adjacent to Hill Seafood. They have the lot down by Dunkin' Donuts, which is between the Sunoco and Dunkin' Donuts. They have a parking garage at 200 East State Street. And if it really gets down that far, I mean, they're going to use the site of the old Media Inn as a site. I don't know that it'll get down that far. I don't know how many people will go that far, walk that far, and pay $25. So, and that's just me thinking out loud, but I was told with this report I'm not to think a whole lot out loud because I've been privy to a lot of conversations, but not all, by far. A lot of this is law enforcement and not for not for me or anybody else to hear because it is a special security event. So.
And was there discussion, Bob, or excuse me, Mr. Mayor, with regards to...
Bob's good.
Okay.
Then you want it.
With regards, I mean, I'm just thinking somebody who is aware of where the train station is will not use Ridley Creek Road. Are we going to have, what are we doing about Orange Street and or Jefferson Street? You know, for the people that, you know, can say, well, gee, I'm not going to go all the way around that loop. I'm just going to drop my uncle off at...
Right. Now, I had thought, originally, I thought at one of the meetings they were closing Orange Street north from the train station or at least making it one way. I mean, you know, one lane, closing one lane. When at a meeting this week when that came up, I do know that Orange Street will be open from Jefferson up to Baltimore Pike. I wasn't, because it's an upper province, I wasn't clear on what they're doing from Lincoln to Jefferson. So Lincoln, that's not, I asked that, but I don't know.
All right, so somebody could
For
possibly.
public safety, okay.
I'm just trying to.
Give me a friend. For public safety reasons, I think they'll have to decide that. And I also expect adjustments from Saturday going into Sunday, because we're going to have more people on Sunday than we are on Saturday. So I'm sure there'll be some lessons learned from Saturday.
Well, I'm just trying to think
This is a-
logically, so somebody's gonna come down Orange Street, they will be shut off at Jefferson Street, right?
I know it'll be open from Jefferson Street. I don't know that the decision has been made about Lincoln to Jefferson.
So somebody can come down Orange Street, and then they need to go someplace, there's gonna be no place to go other than
Right.
heading
Okay, yeah.
east on one of our east-west streets.
Yes. All that's being taken into consideration by people with much more authority than I
So,
have.
Okay, but-
So again, I'm going to update. I mean, by the time we have a robocall tomorrow, something may have been decided about that part. But as I said, that's the one issue that I need
So
to
I know we don't
have clarity
have,
on.
I know we don't have control over Orange Street because it's a state highway, but we do have control over all the east-west streets.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I think that's something that needs to be looked at, because, you know, there is concerns that everyone's gonna, most everyone knows the way to get to the median train station is via Orange Street.
Mhm. Yes.
And I think we may be creating, you know, a lot of traffic on the east-west streets in Southern Precinct, but I think we need to make sure that we don't allow that to occur. So we ask if we can shut down Orange Street, so that the only way to the train station is to Bridge Road.
Well, again, that was at the top of my discussion several times, and this is what I have for now, so.
All right, so it's a fluid discussion that's going on.
you are able to board at the media station, Orange Street Station.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only place in the area, other than the trolley in Springfield Long. That's the only place in the area you can board except for primers. And then the closest state, well, the only other station in Delaware County was over at Bradford.
I mean, it just doesn't, okay.
All right, some decisions are outside of our control. Does anybody else have any questions concerning the mayor's report? Hearing none, we'll move on to the council committee reports. First up, Councilman Boyer, Recreation and Board of Health.
Thank you, Mr. President. As President Hall mentioned earlier, this weekend is the Greater Media Garage Sale Day, which has now become a garage sale weekend, both Saturday and Sunday, the 19th and the 20th. So plan accordingly. Don't plan to get through the borough very easily during the peak times, which is usually morning to early afternoon. And anybody who's lived in the borough knows that it's kind of difficult to move around. But there's lots of wonderful stuff to be had, so get out there and buy your neighbors junk if they don't really want it anymore. And I'm sure it's wonderful merchandise, so lots of stuff turns over. There's a new event coming up for rec. The new program is called Cardio Tap. It will begin Tuesday, October 6th at 7:30. So you can see the website, the link to the rec website to register for that, or call Paul at the Borough for more information. But that is Tuesday, October 6th at 7:30, Cardio Tap. And then finally, the annual Halloween extravaganza will be coming up on Saturday, October 24th, 11:30 to 1:30, right here in the big room in the community center. Kids come in costumes, there's food, candy, games, so it's always a great time. So that is October 24th, Saturday from 11:30 to 1:30. And that's my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilman Boyer? Very good. We'll move on to Historic Archives, Historic Architecture Review Board, Media Business Authority, and Historic. That's Councilwoman Lisa Johnson.
Thank you. I have a report from the NBA. They wanted us to know that they kicked off the Comcast campaign. It's an advertising campaign, September 7th. It's a TV and internet campaign. You might have seen it on cable. I saw it several times. They pair up businesses and they feature two at a time, and they're 30-second commercials. They're really neat. And it's to advertise the whole town, but they're focusing on a couple businesses. There's 28 businesses involved, 18 retailers and 10 restaurants, and it's going to go on for 6 months. But get a chance to check it out. They're also planning on rolling out a newly upgraded online merchandise store, and that should be coming in a few months. And they wanted to say that Dining Under the Stars was another great year, and they wanted to thank the council and the police for their support. I also have a HARB application for a certificate of appropriateness for the property at 218 West Front Street. And the HARB Review Board reviewed this application. They had a meeting on Monday, and their comments here are that the applicant's building is a 3-story Greek revival structure built in 1850, and it was restored in 1976 and been generally maintained on the exterior, historically maintained. The photos of the building show existing conditions, and they were provided with the application, but no supporting documentation about the age or the history of the structure was included. The applicant proposed the following: replacing the existing roof with a 30-year dimensional shingle, replacing any rotted wood decking and installing any rotted rafters, installing new pole gutters covered with new soldered copper, and installing new painted wood soffit to match existing in detail and color. So HARB's recommendation is to have council issue the required certificate of appropriateness with the following provision: that the applicant attempts to preserve all sound portions of the existing soffit and architectural practice. So I believe I make a motion to approve this application for certificate of appropriateness for property at 218 West Front Street.
Second?
Just make sure that that Solicitor Scott agrees that is procedurally what we need to do
Yeah.
here tonight.
Yes,
Okay,
it's
very good.
the council decision, it's not the HARB, it's just advisory to some planning.
So we have a motion that has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion before I call the question? I will call the question then. All those in favor of the Borough Media issuing a certificate of appropriateness for the property located at 218 West Front Street with the condition that Councilwoman Lisa Johnson has specified, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Thank you. I have nothing more to report.
Very good. Are there any questions for Councilwoman Lisa Johnson? Hearing none, we'll move on to Properties, Public Works, Public Safety, and Fire. Vice President Robinson.
Let's see if we can keep this moving. First is our fire report. As I say each month, anybody who is a resident or even a non-resident of the borough that would like to volunteer to serve the Media Fire Department, either as a firefighter and or administratively, please stop by the firehouse. They would welcome any volunteers. For the month of July, from the chief of the fire department, we had 163 EMS calls and 48 fire calls. I will report more detail next month, but for those of you that weren't around the borough during the day, we had another potential serious fire in our business district on State Street. It was on Olive Street. We had numerous fire departments: Springfield, Media, Rose Tree, South Media, and I believe a few others. This is now the second or third one which we've had this summer, and at the public safety we're going to speak with the chiefs and see if there's other options or other areas in which we can possibly maybe increase reviews of the properties, because they've been electrical to date. Also, for those of you that might have been at Super Sunday, we had actually a gas leak coming from a restaurant that's right in the middle of our Super Sunday. As always, our fire department was there promptly, resolved the issue, and people came to shut off the gas. So always, for a group of volunteers, they're always busy, they're always taking significant risks, and they're always making sure that the borough stays safe. In regards to agenda items, this is regarding Oh, I do apologize also, the chief of the fire department also asked me, which the mayor forgot, use 911. As with the police department, the fire chief has said they are now receiving calls from residents using the non-emergency number. This is a volunteer group. Very often there is no one there at the fire department to answer the phone. So, as the mayor references every month, 911 for any type of an emergency call.
Except I didn't reference it this one.
And you did
Remember, I was a one-trick pony tonight.
and no one heard you because the microphone is off. So that's where we are today. Getting back to our parking, amending our parking ordinance. This is ordinance 1118 of 2015. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but in essence, it will be modifying residential parking on the 300 and 400 blocks of South Avenue for the hours of 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 7 days a week. There will also be on the east and now west side of the 400 parking on the 400 block of South Avenue, and residential parking on the north side of the unit block of East Front Street, and new, it will be the 100 block of East Front Street, shall be in effect from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m., excluding Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays. That is it, the Cliff Notes version of it, so I make a motion to approve ordinance number 1118 of 2015.
There's been a motion, there's been a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? There will be a quiz on the particulars. So I'll call the question. All those in favor of adopting ordinance 1118 with regard to making certain changes to our residential parking ordinance, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. I'll just interject here that this is part of our ongoing efforts to kind of change things up and see what works and what doesn't, so that we can get some relief for our residents in terms of parking.
Exactly. This will be ongoing. Next two are my mass gathering permits I do every month, of some sort of mass gathering permit. One is to ratify a position that council already took at our workshop, and it was to approve a mass gathering permit for Media Elementary School from Media Elementary School Parent Teachers Group. The event actually was on September 11th. And I guess it really was a back to school evening. So I make a motion that we ratify the mass gathering permit for Media Elementary School for the function that was held on September 11th, 2015.
Second.
Motion been made, has been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? There's none. All those in favor of ratifying the mass gathering permit application for the Media Elementary School's Welcome Back to School picnic, please say aye.
Yes.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes, and the kids had a great time.
Good. Last on my list is a mass gathering permit application from the Veterans Legacy Project. This is for our Veterans Day Parade. So, Mr. Mayor, this
Yep.
is
I'm still here.
year 49.
56.
I'm only off by a month.
Well, yeah, 1960, every year, 56.
This is our 56th. Those are 50, going on to 50. So, it will be November 11th, starting at 11 o'clock a.m. at our typical parade route. We are looking right now for at least 10 high school bands, several veterans organizations, vehicles, convertible cars, etc., etc. As we all know, it's a great, great event. Estimated attendance, and I think this is conservative, is 5,000 to 10,000 people. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Veterans Legacy Project for the Veterans Day Parade to be held on November 11th.
Second. Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the mass gathering permit application for the 56th annual Veterans Day Parade, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Concludes my report.
Are there any questions for Vice President Robinson? Hearing none, we'll move to Community Development Personnel and Media Arts Council. That is my portion of the agenda. I have 3 items for legislative action, one of which I'm going to lean heavily on our borough manager, because this is one that kind of slipped in later with transit, but he will do a wonderful job of explaining what it is that we're being requested to do. Item number 1 is the zoning hearing board application. This involves 200 West State Street. This is the southwest corner of State Street and Veterans Square. It's the Verizon building. The request, there's an application for a variance to our zoning code to install what is described as a micro cell site. I guess essentially it's a small antenna for cell phones, data that can flow over cell phones and all this sort of stuff that my daughters know about, and I've got no clue. But under our zoning code, these types of antennas are not permitted in that location. Therefore, the applicant needs to get a variance from our zoning code in order to install this. Essentially, they're looking to put a box at the top of the building, along the cornice of the building, and then they're seeking to hide that or stealth it by cladding it in a faux brick type application. It kind of blends in with the bricks of the building. Normally, we would have the benefit of a full review from our planning commission with a recommendation. We do not have that with regard to this application. There appears to have been some, oddly enough, some communication issues with regard to the continued proceedings before the planning commission, and as a result, the applicant did not come back for a second presentation for the planning commission. They have requested, as is their right, to go to the zoning hearing board without the review from the planning commission. So this is kind of unusual for us because normally we have a thumb up or a thumb down from the planning commission. We don't have that here. My analysis of these types of applications is that if so long as what is being asked is not so offensive to the health, safety, and welfare of the community, that we do not request that our solicitor attend the zoning hearing board proceedings, and if he deems appropriate, to register an objection to what is being proposed. I do not feel as if this is so offensive that we should send our solicitor. As a result, I am not going to make a motion that we send the solicitor to the zoning hearing board meeting, but we do have a 5-second rule, and if anybody wishes to make a motion that we do send our solicitor there, that he or she may do so within the next 5 seconds.
I'd like to make a motion that we authorize our solicitor to attend zoning hearing board.
There is a motion that we send Mr. Scott to the zoning hearing board.
But that's to attend to oppose, is that correct?
To attend to oppose, correct.
So that is the motion that we send Mr. Scott there, not only to attend, but to oppose the application. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
The motion's been made, it's been seconded. So is there any question or call for discussion on the motion?
I'd like to explain why I took the position, because I do think it is, you know, our zoning code has been written and approved by council because this is a borough and we have a lot going on in a small area. And part of our zoning code reflects that you are permitted to do things in certain sections, and in other sections of the borough you're not. And in this situation, a permitted location for the antennas is less than 1,000 feet away from where the applicant is requesting a variance for it. At our workshop, I felt that it was the applicant's responsibility to provide documentation to council, and if we ask for it, because we do vote if we're going to oppose or not oppose, information regarding why they had to have it there. They did not provide us the information. They did not offer to provide us the information. I see no reason why we need to be providing a variance when there is a permitted location. And with that in mind, we're just asking for that every single time somebody wants something, if it's not in the exact location which they desire, and if it's not a health, safety, or welfare issue, it's going to be brought before our zoning hearing board. I think it's important as the elected officials that when we see something like this, that we provide support to our planning commission and or our zoning hearing board so that we are all on the same team and not necessarily just always just saying, well, we're not going to make any decision. We're going to leave it up to the zoning hearing board. So I would encourage members of council
to vote or to vote to oppose this, and I would encourage members of council to take the time to really take a look at and digest our zoning code.
All right, thank you. Is there any other comment or discussion on the issue?
Mr. Robinson, I was under the impression that they did offer justification for the location that they're seeking. And it was sound. It seems as though they also said that the planning commission only saw something, it was not wrong, but that it wasn't pretty. I'm using that because it's the only name I can think of right now. But I don't know that they did justify that location.
Well, no, they justified that location. They did not justify why they couldn't put it in the location where it is already permitted. Anybody can sit there and justify what they want, where they want it. They weren't able to explain to us why it had to be there when it could not be placed.
Well, when you do ask why, it means that definitely defend your position.
I would encourage you,
But-
Sarah, to take a look at our zoning code and get a greater understanding of it.
All right, is there any other call for discussion? I do have a couple of points. I think that they did offer a justification or explanation. This is a micro cell site, so it provides enhanced coverage within a certain small area. And the reason why we're looking for this location is because that certain small area will service State Street, but there's a tremendous amount relative to other areas, use of cell phones, both for data as well as for telephone calls and texting and all that sort of stuff. So that would service, this is their explanation, that would service that increased traffic in that area. I'd also suggest that way back in the day when we passed our ordinance with regard to the locations for cell sites, the antenna that were being used at the time were similar to the antennas that sit on top of this building. They're very large, very intrusive, very obvious. This is a much smaller sized antenna, if that's the correct word, one that can blend in better with the built environment. And I think that Councilwoman Dixon is correct that the concerns that were voiced at the Planning Commission were largely those of aesthetics, not so much with the use that this would provide, but more with the aesthetics. And lastly, I have full confidence that the zoning hearing board is going to hold the applicant to the test, where they have to prove their hardship. The applicant does not prove their hardship, does not need to prove their case for hardship in front of this body or in front of the Planning Commission. I have full confidence that the zoning hearing board, which is an independent body from us, that they will apply the test as they always do with applications for a variance, and that they will reach what they believe to be the best result. Having said all that, unless anybody else has any further comment on this, I'll call the question.
I just want to clarify what you said. I don't want to get into a big debate, but the position is they need to explain to us, either technically or at least rationally, why it has to be located in a place other than where it's permitted. And they did not even attempt to do that.
And to the contrary, I think that you're mistaken. They did. They said it works best in a
No,
three-block
they
environment.
didn't. They said it works for 1,000 feet, and 1,000 feet is where it's permitted to be placed. So I guess it's you say tomato, I say tomato.
Okay, let's not call the whole thing off. Let's call the question instead.
Well, I'd like to make a comment.
Fair enough.
I agree that, they explained to us why they wanted it in the location on State Street, but they didn't give us information on why this location on Court Building was not sufficient. They didn't explain that to us. I also don't agree that the antenna that they want to put on State Street, my memory serves, it was 5 feet sticking out from the building, 5 feet out from the building, 6 feet tall and 3 feet wide. That's pretty intrusive, I think. So I would just like to understand why the courthouse location would not serve their purpose.
Fair enough, unless there are any other comments, I'll call the question. All those in favor of sending Mr. Scott, our solicitor, to attend the zoning hearing board meeting concerning 200 West State Street, the application for variance concerning the microcell site, and to oppose that application, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
So the motion fails 4-3. Okay. Item number 2, this is the one that I said that I was going to turn the whole proceedings over to the borough manager, Jeffrey Smith. As I said, this is late breaking over the transom, but he is going to explain, I believe, that what is being asked will not have any effect upon our finances, but take it away, Mr. Smith.
Yes, my understanding is that working? Sorry, I'll try and speak up. My understanding is the police department's been working with the vendor. It's a voluntary, essentially a 457 or supplemental retirement plan. So they've been working with the individual, and it turns out, my understanding is that they've never signed an agreement for advisory services. So I received a copy on Monday with the intention of putting it on council's October workshop agenda, but the police department is requesting that council consider it this evening since they view it as somewhat innocuous and more of a housekeeping issue. Since there is no cost to the borough, it's paid for by each of the voluntary participants that are involved with the payroll withholding that goes into this account. So in speaking with Solicitor Scott, it was his belief that the agreement should be reviewed and considered by Borough Council since it's an agreement that's entered into. So specifically, I believe number 6, where it lists any type of outlay for the borough, I did confirm in writing with the account representative that there is no cost. So the solicitors advised if council's of the mind to move forward with the agreement, that we would just simply put 0 where it says employer fees associated with it, since there are none. So that essentially, again, it's a totally voluntary. It's been around for a long time, predates me, frankly, but any employee that wishes to supplement their retirement is able to withhold totally on their own through payroll deductions. And my understanding from the account representative, some of the specifically individuals in the police department have been contributing for a long time, so they feel like they need some more detailed advisory services as opposed to kind of more broad in nature with some of the funds that they have invested. So that's the reason for the agreement that's in front of you.
All right.
I'll second the motion.
Yeah, I'll make the motion. All those in favor of approving the voluntary 457 contributions agreement?
Well,
For discussion's sake.
We'll get discussion. I'll make that motion. It has been seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
right, thank you. Yeah, Jeff, so what is the purpose of us voting on this?
In order for the go ahead, I'll defer to this.
Yeah, but it's the agreement more or less is the borough agreeing to do the withholding, because it's the borough that has to take the steps to withhold and submit what has been withheld to this investment company. So even though it's 4 or 5 or 6 page agreement, the gist of it is the borough's agreeing to withhold what the employee tells us to withhold.
We have no fiduciary responsibility though.
Well,
Well, you do to get, you do
Well,
to.
I mean,
right,
to
get
transfer
the
of
math
two
right,
things,
yeah.
just to get,
Sure.
yes.
In a
Okay.
Yeah, but not as to investment. I mean,
But we have no
we have a
connection
duty-
with who they select as an
Yeah.
investment, because
Yeah.
with the
They-
new Dodd-Frank Act, I mean, there's a lot more requirements on municipal
They have
advisors.
to direct who they want it sent to, which they do by signing this agreement, and then we're agreeing once they've done that, that we'll submit their withholding to this investment advisor.
So it's actually their funds, it's really not the borough's funds.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah,
okay.
it's withheld from their payroll. It's not a, there's no match, there's no fee the borough pays, we're just saying, if you've directed us to do this, it's kind of like, it's almost like a wage garnishment.
Right, okay.
Okay. So that's the housekeeping element to this that
Yeah.
Mr. Smith mentioned. We are the ones who are doing that clerical work of making sure that the right amount of money is being taken out of the paycheck.
Yeah.
And what happens from that point on is entirely up to.
Right, what return they get, how much fees they're getting, that's between them and this company. It's not our vendor, it's one they've chosen.
Thank you, Solicitor Scott. Are there any other questions on this motion before I call it? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the voluntary 457 contributions agreement as outlined by our borough manager, Mr. Smith, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Last item is a proposed award for architectural services at Plum Street Mall. The very good news about this is that, multiple reasons why this is very good news. One is that the amount of money is already in, for these services, is already in the budget. And the bid amount was exactly for the amount of money that's in our budget, so we're not having to pay anything that is beyond what is already in the budget. The second is that we have what I consider to be a very good consultant. That's the RVA group. RVA is already working with the borough on plans for the Memorial Garden, which we are designing for the Verizon building, which is already been somewhat in the news this evening. And we should be having some sketch work of that in the next month or so. But we've also asked them to take a look at Plum Street. Plum Street is really the heart of our community. And we think that it could use a little bit of imagination and perhaps a new design to it. We'd like to see what can be done with that 3-block stretch. We had applied two years ago, I believe, for a federal grant, and we did not make the cut for that. We came ever so close. The explanation from the grant administrator on that project was that that it would have helped if we had provided them with concept drawings, concept design drawings. We didn't have that. So we're trying to address that deficiency with hiring a design group to provide certain concepts of what the Plum Street Mall could look like. What RVA is proposing to do is provide conceptual design alternatives, up to 3 of them, as well as with order of magnitude construction cost estimates, so we have a sense of what this could look like and how much it would cost us. We can then use this to reapply for federal grant monies, and we hope begin to start reimagining what Plum Street looks like. So I would like to move that we award RVA for providing architectural services at Plum Street Mall in the amount of $25,000.
Second.
Second. I heard one down there.
I did too.
So there's a motion been made. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
All right. You took care of the first part.
Yeah, I did.
Any
discussion?
I thought you were taking the whole thing. Is there any discussion on the motion?
There is not. All those in favor of awarding RVA with the contract for architectural services at Plum Street Mall in the amount of $25,000, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. Motion passes. I apologize. One last item. Yesterday, we had a wonderful event here at the Borough, as we do every year. We honor a person, or sometimes persons. This year it was 2 persons, at the Walk of Fame, which is just outside of Borough Hall. It's by the flagpole. And this year was John K. Borough, as well as Lord Gribbage. It was a wonderful ceremony. Many of us were there. But these ceremonies work best when there are folks working behind the curtain, the backdrop. And I'd like to single out 3 persons who really worked hard to make this happen. They are all persons who work at the employee, Karen, Mary Ann, and especially our very own Joanne Tippett. They provide that those special little touches that maybe you don't notice at first, but if you keep your eyes open, you see that someone really took the time to care. And we thank you for taking the time to care. All right, that is the end of my agenda. And unless there are any questions for me, we'll move on to Finance, Technology, Library, and Environmental Advisory Commission. Councilman Davis.
Thanks, Brian. First on my agenda is finance payment of bills for the month of August. I make a motion that we pay the bills for the month of August in the following amounts. From the general fund, $368,364.18. From the recreation fund, $5,058.01. From the Liquid Fuels Fund, $2,035, and from the Capital Fund, $40,000, $797.21, for a grand total of $416,254.35. So moved.
Second?
Motion been made, has been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will call the question on what I call the deadbeat motion, where we're going to pay our bills. All those who favor payment of the bills, borough's bills for the month of August from the general, recreation, liquid fuels, and capital funds, please, as specified by Councilman Davidson, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Thank you. Next up, every year by law, we are required to adopt what's called an MMO, or a minimum municipal obligation. And this is the amount of money that we need to contribute to our pension funds for both our uniformed and non-uniformed employees to keep the level of that funding of that account to a certain level. I'm happy to say that we, as a borough, are one of the highest percentage of sort of fulfillment of our pension fund. But nonetheless, every year we need to continue to add to that. This year, it's a minor increase from last year. It's a 7.1% increase from last year. The amounts that I'm going to move that we budget for our 2016 fiscal year will be as follows. For the non-uniform employees, an amount of $149,426. And for the uniform employees, $714,901, for a grand total of $864,327 as our minimum municipal obligation for our employees' pension funds.
Second.
Formal motion.
Motion been made, has been seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
Just for clarity, this is our minimal obligation.
That is correct. I'd be happy to point out that Finance is investigating contributing additional funds, and we're doing some research with financial advisors and other representatives to determine if whether that's a good idea or not.
Thank you. It sets a floor, it doesn't set a ceiling, I guess is another way of putting it.
Correct.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of paying into
Budgeting.
budgeting. All those in favor of budgeting $149,426 for the pension plan for our non-uniform employees and $714,900, I believe it was $901 for our uniform employees pension plan, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Thanks. That's the end of my legislative agenda. For those of you who are going to participate in the media garage sale this weekend from the EAC, there is a tendency on Sunday and Monday for those things which do not happen to fly off of your front stoop to end up on the side of the road. And so my request to residents is that to remind you that all consumer electronics, which is any cell phone, old computer, old monitors, cathode ray tubes, and other types of devices should not be thrown out in our municipal garbage. There are special collection events which are sponsored by both the county as well as local other organizations. And I know that certain local charities which take, say, donations of food, clothing and other articles from your home, often will take consumer electronics like that for no charge, and they recycle it and turn it into nonprofit donations essentially. So I remind everyone to just please take care of our landfills and move that material into a way it can be reused and recycled, particularly since a lot of it contains lead and other harmful chemicals that we don't want to end up in a landfill and potentially in our water.
And to add what Ken says, our highway department is very familiar with this, and unless it's hidden, these things will be left on the curb. And then which is very frustrating is then the resident doesn't bother to pick it up and it sits on the curb, So please listen to Councilman Davidson.
And I believe that the last Wednesday of the month is the bulk trash pickup. And if you would like to have your bulk trash picked up the last Wednesday of the month, you need to just call the borough, leave a message, and the crew will come by and pick it up. It's a good time to clean up the house. In library news, they have an upcoming event, fundraiser, on September 26th from 7 to 11 p.m. called Casino Night. You can find out more information on their website, media@uplibrary.org. As well, you can also get photos of the construction which is currently underway. You can take a look where you walk by. The foundation is almost dug out, and I believe they'll be pouring that foundation on next month. As I'm required every month, the mayor and Vice President Robinson talk about calling 911. It's my job to talk about an application we have on your iPhone called Public Stuff. I'll show it right here. If you're actually watching this on TV or if you're in the audience here at home, check it out. It's on the Android Play Store or the, I guess the Apple App Store, or the iPhone App Store. It's free, and it lets you go around and send requests to our government here, send a photo, and it gives away your geolocation if you're actually taking a photo around town. And you can use it to report a crack in the sidewalk, a tree that receives maintenance, whatever you want. So it's an easy way to connect with the government in a way that's right in your pocket. And I'd ask anyone who is actually listening to this and checks it out, go talk to your neighbor. Tell them to go check it out too. It's a great app, and it's a good way to get in touch with us. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilman Davis? Hearing none, we'll move on to Fair Trade Farmers Market at Shade Tree. Councilwoman Amy Johnson.
Thank you. Fair Trade is wanting to share with everybody that Philadelphia has been declared a fair trade city. October 15th, there will be a city council meeting where the official announcement will take place, and the entire Media Fair Trade Committee will be there in full support and to celebrate. So they also wanted me to share with everyone on council, and if there's any leftovers, those in the audience are welcome to this Fair Trade sticker that they now have. It's Fair Trade Supporter. So restaurants and businesses that support fair trade, this will go in their windows or wherever it's most visible. This is also great for your car or your window in your home. So they wanted me to pass this along. So anybody out there in the TV land would like one of these, maybe, I'm thinking they'll probably have these available at the Media Farmers Market at their table. They're there on Thursdays. And speaking of Media Farmers Market, just a reminder that every Thursday from 3 to 7 at State and Gailey, the market takes place. There's still a little over a month left. The market runs all the way till November. Lots of autumn crops and yummy treats are making their way to the market. And for those of you interested, Cantor Hill, which is one of the meat vendors, is now taking orders for Thanksgiving turkeys. And that concludes my report. They are not pre-cooked.
Gotta go to Trader Joe's for pre-cooked stuff. Any questions for Councilwoman Amy Johnson? Hearing none, we'll move on to Public Relations and Historical Archives. Councilwoman Dixon.
So, the Historical Archives had a meeting, the first one since August, took a little bit of vacation, and got budget work done, and we're back into the flow of working the archives. But what really interests me, not the meeting interests me too, gotta watch that. I got word that the movie that was filmed here, I saw it in the Inquirer, but I got something that said the movie that was filmed here this week will be in Bryn Mawr and all across the country. The name has been changed to Slow Learners. And the review that I saw.
It's
What?
It's about council.
The review I saw said it was a delightful movie, so, but it's making media look really good. So that's the PR part. And I have nothing else to say. And that's amazing.
Well, that's concision is a virtue. Sarah, just during the library move, the archives are still open, but in the firehouse, right?
No. Right now, we have everything over in, the hall upstairs on the 3rd floor. And that's where we're meeting, and we have storage space there. And if you need any help or information, we still are doing that. And we were doing that even in August, even though we didn't meet in August.
All right. So if someone wants some help or information, where should they go?
Good question. Okay, because actually Pat is taking that. Yes.
I was just going to say, usually it's at this point, the request is usually made via email, and then one of the board members will schedule some time, locate the archive that's being requested, and there is a conference table up on the 3rd floor in the lobby area, so they can come in, take a look at it. So I believe that right now, the board members are just requesting it via email. They can send it to myself, anybody at the borough. We'll get it over to the folks at the Historical Archives.
The reason I mentioned this is because I think we're all looking forward to the day sometime in spring of next year when the new library building opens, and our Historic Archives will have its own home. All right, any other questions for our council? Hearing none, we move on to our bookend session of public comment, privilege of the floor. If there's anyone who wishes to address council at this time, please come forward, speak to the microphone, tell us who you are, where you live, even if you've done it already this evening.
Letitia Jones, 216 North Monroe Street. My question is regarding Plum Street Mall. I noticed that Dining Under the Stars, all the events, even just in ordinary evenings, there are people of all ages, including a few more elderly and not so mobile folks. Women in shoes that aren't necessarily great for walking. And given that there are establishments with liquor licenses, and I see a lot of small people who look like they are still learning to walk as well. So given that those demographics, are we going to do anything about the bricks on Plum Street Mall, which are not very conducive to people who might have high-heeled dress shoes or to people who have mobility issues, young or old?
Let me look over to our borough manager, Jeff Smith. I understand that our Public Works does come out and take a look, identify problem areas. If you can address specifically Plum Street Mall, which I believe is the point of question.
Sure. If there's anything specific, I mean, generally they'll take a look at it. Inevitably, especially during the winter months with the freeze and the thaw, you will see kind of some heaving take place, so they'll be out there. With regard to the consultant, I believe one of the things that the consultant the council just authorized this evening is going to take a look at that question, and then ultimately, should the committee, the public, whatever the case may be, determine that the Plum Street Mall should go in another direction, that might be one of the things that would be included in the grant ultimately. So, but yeah, short term, be happy to ask the Public Works Department to take a look.
I guess since Councilman Davidson has told us about the wonderful application that you can use. If you have a phone, have an app, you can take photographs of any of the problem areas you have, or you can do the traditional way of emailing the borough and telling them.
I may have to resort to emailing the borough because I do not have a smartphone. I have a dumb phone at home.
Or then you can go to the library and use the computer there if you don't have a computer at home. But either way, you can alert the borough to any problem areas that you see, and I'm sure that Ralph and his crew will take a look at it. But thank you for bringing that to our attention. Does anyone else wish to address council at this time? Seeing that there are no other takers, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion's been made, and we are adjourned. Good night, and hope to see you all out there Saturday and Sunday.
Dodging.